What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special Kind of Funny Gamescast afternoon stream here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, and podcast services maybe around the globe. I'm your host, Greg Miller, alongside the ghost of Yotei herself, Erika Ishii. Hello, Erika.
Hi, Greg.
How are you?
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for making time. PlayStation came through the inbox. They're like, do you want to talk to Erika? And I'm like, you know what? I do want to talk to Erika. I haven't talked to Erika in what feels like a lifetime.
We really, truly were different, completely different humans. Our lives were different. Our careers were different. But yeah, they said, oh, I think you might know Greg. Like, do you know about Kind of Funny? And Greg and I was like, ha, 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 I know Greg.
Erika, when did we meet for the first time?
I want to say it was 2015.
That sounds about right?
At an E3. That was the first E3 that I had ever gotten in with a badge that was legit. Now that E3's gone, I can say it. Yeah. I snuck into my first E3. It was on, I think it was on a date. But like you had to check Twitter to make sure that that like the doors that weren't being guarded when they weren't checking IDs.
Yep.
And then you get in. But that year, I was hosting for IndieCade with Geek and Sundry.
Yep. Kevin, do we have this photo? I believe you sent this right before we went live, Erika. It's you and me on a couch, 2015, children at this E3.
Those babies.
God, what a different time. Nobody knew what was ahead of us. Nobody knew what was coming up next.
I could have never, and that's us with Ishii and Wadue of Dropout fame.
Of course, yeah. He never just gone. Nobody knows what happened to him.
Yeah.
Didn't also become extremely popular.
It's that, and also, he and I got to announce on the same day that we were working at Respawn. He wrote on Apex Legends around at the same time I got to announce Valkyrie, which is insane. Neither of us could have ever guessed. We'd hoped.
Erika, there's about a lifetime or two of things to cover. All right. Obviously, we're going to talk about Ghost and what it's like to be the star of the PlayStation first party game of the year. I want to talk a little bit of how we got here because your rise has been incredible, well-deserved, but insane. Before all that, I'll remind you, of course, that this is a Kind of Funny Gamescast special each and every weekday. Sometimes two best friends gather on this table, coming to talk about whatever the biggest topics in games are, whether they be reviews, previews, or conversations like this. If you like that, pick up a Kind of Funny membership, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, you can get on Apple, you could get on Spotify, you could get it over on patreon.com/kindoffunny to get all of our shows ad-free. Of course, get your daily dose of me in a podcast series we call Greg White, and of course get good karma for supporting a small independent business. You already got Games Daily today. That was about PlayStation making big changes. Of course, after that was another Gamescast, which was the Sonic Racing Crossworlds preview. You're getting your stream right now because that's how we do it. And if you're a Patreon supporter at the $25 or up level, this afternoon is our happy hour where you can hang out with us. Your Kind of Funny Greg White, of course, is live as well. It's me ranting and raving about Nintendo and third-party support. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, and Delaney the Psalm Twining. Today we're brought to you by X-Real, but we'll talk about that later. For now, we're back to Erika. See, I just plowed through the housekeeping for you, Erika. Just get to it so we can keep talking.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Wow, that was some fast housekeeping.
It's just all white noise to folks in the chat like Alex and J-Man and Jig Guns over there. I don't know. That name's, I don't like that name. Of course, there's a lot going on. Erika, start with this photo from 2015. We start with you sneaking into the industry. Obviously, we jump to you being the ghost of Yotei. What the fuck happened in this career? Because you were just a normal person. You were just a normal, talk to the camera, make a YouTube person like us. And I remember when it was like 2017, I think, when you're like, oh, I'm going to do some voice acting. I'm in Crypt of the Necrodancer. We're like, oh, cool, whatever. And then here you are starring in a PlayStation game, not even a decade later. Something happened here and I don't understand.
Yeah, truly, Greg, what the fuck, indeed. It's wild because even before I was talking to the screen and trying to keep up with my housekeeping, I was just a huge gamer nerd. It's truly wild. It's like I feel like I got to do the whole Cinderella story I started out, I was sneaking into E3. I remember I went and I bought my own sort of ticket out to the first PSX, which I believe you were presenting.
Oh,
at.
of course. Yeah, we were a big deal.
Yeah,
at PSX
that was
back
you.
then.
You interviewed for Uncharted 4. It was all the way back in Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've always been a huge fan of games, and I think it was, I think you and we've always had a special sort of we've loved a lot of PlayStation games, a lot of the narrative based games,
sure.
and playing The Last of Us was sort of the last straw to where I said, okay, I have to get into voice acting for video games specifically. Because I did a whole child actor thing. I was on an episode of Full House and I did some commercials. I stopped to be at UCLA and get a degree.
So did you grow up in LA? Was it always like you were surrounded by Hollywood and stuff?
Yeah, my parents were both below the line workers. My mom was an editor and my dad pulled focus as a camera assistant. And so they couldn't they couldn't open doors for me, but they knew which doors to knock on.
Okay.
They were like, this is, you have to audition and you have to try to get an agent. And I was just a really gregarious child. So they're like, maybe we can channel this.
No way. I can't picture
me.
it.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, I always loved it. And I always grew up loving games and loving cartoons, but games is a very different discipline than on-camera acting.
For sure.
And I think, and it requires, honestly, a huge buy-in sometimes. At the time that I was doing it, demo reels cost about $1,000 to produce, and you'd have to get mic equipment, which was this was before podcasting. Yeah. So you'd easily spend a couple $100s on a basic mic. And I was just really, really fortunate that I got into it at a time where, I wanted to be part of this new storytelling medium, playing The Last of Us, playing things like Mass Effect and these narrative-driven games where there were these really juicy roles was so exciting to me. And so I resolved to do it. And somehow, less than a decade later, I did it. I did it.
So when you're going to UCLA, are you going for acting or were you doing something different?
No, I did mass media communications,
Okay.
which was wild
Okay.
because in a lot of ways I used that so much in my entryway because nobody gets into voice acting and especially video games the same way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people a generation ahead of me were acting on camera or voiceovers for cartoons and accidentally fell into games. And sometimes fell in love with them. But for me, I was specifically interested in being in games. So, UCLA was getting a practical college degree.
The fallback plan in case it all goes to hell.
It was just kind of in the thing to do. I think they valued education in my family, despite the fact that neither of my parents ended up finishing. They had both dropped out to be in the show business as well. So, I got my degree and then, sort of acting school and classes. I just knew I wanted to perform, but it wasn't until I latched on to video games as even a possibility that things really started clicking for me.
So give me the breakdown then. So you graduate UCLA, but there's this Geek and Sundry section where you're doing the internet YouTube-y thing. Did you think that was going to lead you to voice acting, or was that the path for a while?
I always knew I wanted to do act, to perform, to play characters, to tell stories. But while I was in post graduation, bumming around in LA, stealing food from the catering company that I was working at. Nobody tell. But
now they'd be proud. Now they put it on their desk, their billboards that you stole food from them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. UCLA catering.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. I was doing, the serious method school. I was taking classes at Strasbourg and also at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade,
Nice.
which I think if you talk to any comedian that comes out of LA, we've all gone through the program and sort of like been. I was in something called Tournament of the Nerds, which is like still to this day a midnight nerdy show where you sort of comedy debate. It's like who would win in a fight between these nerdy characters.
Sure.
I did that. I was in like a Harry Potter themed improv group, which is, obviously long since disbanded. But my coach through there was trying to start up some geeky nerdist like news channel. And so they needed, like, they were like, oh, you like nerdy stuff and you are a woman and can talk on camera. Why don't you do that? And so I was like, oh, okay, sure. Like I didn't have any hosting experience, but I loved games and I was keeping up with all the news anyway. And so I started writing, producing, and then directing and hosting this small channel, which eventually in the sort of LA nerdy networks, we all kind of went to the same parties and we all like would work out of a lot of the same studios. The showrunner for Geek and Sundry ended up saying, oh, I remember we used to work out of that same little studio in the Valley. And then I ended up joining at Geek and Sundry. And then I ended up getting my own show there. And then I worked really hard. I ended up sort of producing and hosting that show for no money for a while, just to sort of have a platform to get into E3 legit and to be able to talk to developers and to other voice actors and to sort of like, because I mean, it's so funny. You've been in this industry, and I remember kind of funny always being just this like trusted institution, and also straddling that line between fandom and
Sure.
journalism and just like knowing all of the developers, and so it was this heady time we were talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So all that's going on, and then you say The Last of Us is what finally is the last straw. Like,
Yeah.
when you make that decree, what happens next?
I sprang for a demo of a voiceover demo, and for
Did you feel you already
voiceover
had the classes and the chops, and you knew at least
I
from a
had
green way
I
to
had
do
the
it?
classes and chops from improv, acting. Those were all great groundwork. A lot of the sort of technical skills you end up picking up on the job, or like I had tutors, and Sissy Jones, BAFTA winner Sissy Jones.
I'm well aware.
Was
of course, the love of
mentor.
my life in Starfield, Andreja.
She is a god, and she and a lot of the incredible famous women of voiceover kind of they had a workout group, and so we would get together like a voiceover workout group, and we'd bring in auditions or just sides and sort of critique each other's performances and provide support. And just in that way, it was so instrumental in even the sort of like, how far away do I get from the mic? What do I like? How do you do an A, B, give an A, B, and C? How do you, just all the technical skills. And so I really feel like I had the benefit of being around some of the most talented people in the industry on my come up, which was both incredibly fortunate and also terrifying.
I would have to think a little bit intimidating, right? Like, I've done a bunch of stupid VO roles here, and like I'm always embarrassed to be in the booth, and I'm just a moron. But I couldn't imagine if I was also then like tomorrow I decided I want to do this. I'm gonna go be a voice actor, to like talk to Troy about it, to talk to Laura about it. And I'd be like, like we're talking to Michael Jordan. I barely know how to shoot a basket.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and also I think a lot of times I'm sure it is something that they get a lot. And I've had some people say like, well, I've heard that a lot of like, I want to be a voice actor, and they go, cool, check out these links, check out these teachers, cut a demo, and then you can start looking for agents. And I hope to see you. I hope to see you in the booth. And a lot of times people don't follow up either because they don't realize that there is that huge sort of barrier to entry, or because they don't have, the time and money. It's like I was fortunate in my really most pivotal year before I was booking anything, while I was really kind of struggling in hosting and going paycheck to paycheck. I got to live rent free with my partner at the time. And I think that's a thing that sometimes people leave out of, like if you're
The
financially
journey.
stable, you don't have to like book every single gig. Cause like when you're a little more relaxed and you're like, okay, at least I'll have a roof over my head and I'll have my
Yep.
stolen meal from catering, like you're not as like, they don't hear the desperation in your voice while you're auditioning. So it was all those combination of factors, and truly being at Geek and Sundry and being in proximity to the industry, I ended up getting started in indie games.
Yeah.
I would go to GDC and, hand out my card, or, say like, hey, would you come and be on my show? Or could I demo your game? Or, and then it would, of course, come up that I do voice acting and I have a demo, and they could put me in the pile of people to audition. I think with very few exceptions, it was I still auditioned for roles, but it would kind of be like, oh, we need a femme voice, or like a tough chick. Why don't we call Erika? See if Erika can do this role. And like by the time that I was booking, there was Dream Daddy and there was Crypt of the Necro
Yep.
Dancer and all these indie titles. And I was booking a lot on my own before I got an agent for voice acting.
And is that for you, when does it become real? This is my job. This is what I'm doing. This is all I do. And I guess even that's insulting because you still do so much more. I apologize. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I don't know that it's ever. I still feel like at the end of the day, I'm just a little guy on the internet.
Yeah.
Because I still kept. It's weird. I feel like my skill. Let's look at it like a skill tree, if you will.
Sounds great. I know those well.
And I feel like sort of hosting ended up sort of splitting off into, voice acting, and then also tabletop, and sometimes even still hosting. I ended up doing some Marvel red carpets, and I did like a couple of video games shows, but yeah, I love hosting because I get to talk to the most interesting people and get to try, you get to see and try so much in a thing that you're passionate about.
For sure.
But then the tabletop, because that was definitely not a thing when we first met, in the same way.
Doing D&D on an internet show. Good luck, Travis. See you later.
I think, and they all fell into it too, because that was just their home game that Felicia was like, oh, this would be a good show. And so tabletop and D&D, and then on voice acting and motion capture even, it's the dream of getting to tell these stories with incredibly talented people and getting to just kind of play. But it's been a weird, circuitous journey, and I really truly think that being a fan and like loving the people that make games has been so instrumental in me being here.
Oh, I mean, I have to imagine, right? I think that's what's always so cool about meeting people who are primarily voice actors in our space, and how much they care about it and how much they know, and to see people like yourself now who have grown up as fans with it, right? And have seen the change and the respect we have for your Nolan Norths, right? For your Commander Shepherds. These people who mean so much to us, far beyond just their voice, but their performance and their character and what they do, let alone what they are when you talk to Jennifer Hale and how great a person she is. Like, the way that's reverberated out, and to see that bring in so many great people, I have to imagine that works for you the same way.
Yeah, it's truly been wild, because I think, like any newer art form, I think there is, a level of people that sort of are cross-discipline trained, right? That have that sort of traditional acting background, and then they come into it and they can bring that incredible skill set to this new medium and help define it. And then another generation comes up and they're like, oh, well, I was a fan of these people. And the trick is to not try and copy their performances and emulate them, right? But like to sort of learn from their skill set and to look at your love of this game and what are the things that I love about video games and video game performances. And like coming into an audition, even understanding, like having them not have to explain, what Halo is, like all the backstory of Halo. I was able to just like come in and do it.
I got it.
No, yeah, and then be like, yeah, and call outs. Yeah, I know the call outs. Yeah. I know what I know what I know what all these different things are, and to just sort of be like, well, what would I enjoy as a player? It's been wild.
I bet. I mean, I think that's been the fun thing from my side of the screen is knowing you as one of us, just a YouTuber, a host, all these different things. And this game, these independent roles, And then there was that moment when you got announced as Rook in Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and that we did a clip of it where me and Andy flip out that it's you. We couldn't believe it was you because like Andy and I anticipated that game so much, and then to find out it was someone we knew so well was so incredible. Let alone the performance you gave in that game. Like you were my Rook, and you were fucking awesome in it. And I tell everybody all the time how much I adored that performance, how great it was, the scale, the scope, everything you brought to it. Like that was for me. That was my very personal moment of like, oh, Erika's no longer one of us. She is a voice actor. This is what she does. This is her thing.
But that's the thing is I'm always going to be like part of the crew this way. Like, because I mean, like, it's funny like that all these years later that you and I, like 10 years later, you and I are talking about this and are both professional. Like we were both on Sony's list of like, hey, you two should talk. Like we trust you guys to talk about, in a professional manner about our video game. I think that there is always going to be a part of me that feels weird about answering the questions as opposed to asking them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And it's being a professional fan, I think is something. I mean, because you are too. Like you came from it, and you made that. It's just in different aspects of this industry. And, I think Sungwon, ProZD, and I have talked about that as well, about what it's like coming from sort of YouTube land and then being part of the content creators and how suddenly there's stuff that you don't necessarily say. And it's not because you're censoring yourself, but because kind of you're actually in that world and these people in real life and you are a part of making it. And you're like, wow, making games is hard. I shouldn't be such a little shit. Like,
The amount of times I remember being at IGN in those first few years and be like, oh, what a lazy decision. Not realizing, however bad this video game was, people took years and years of their life trying really, really hard, and this is what happened. Like, ooh, I don't like that one bit. Of course, you are here to talk about Ghost of Yotei. I want to get to those questions, but I want to remind everybody that they can write in to be part of the show right now with youtube.com/kindoffunnygames super chats to ask you questions or just say things like this. Trevor says, Samalama ding dong, hype for Yotei. So there you go. You could do that. Then I have questions stacking up here from Brian from Super Tyler. We will get to those. But first, I'll remind everybody that this is a special Kind of Funny Gamescast stream. Remember, of course, you can support this show and all of our shows by becoming a Kind of Funny member. Go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, patreon.com/kindoffunny, Apple or Spotify. And of course, you can pick up your membership to get all of our shows. That's more than $80 a month, ad-free. And of course, get your daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a 15 to 20-minute podcast series that adds up to more than 4 hours of podcasting each and every month. Plus, you get good karma. But right now, you're not using your benefits. So here's a word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Xreal. As of August 25th, Xreal One Pro is finally available on Amazon and BestBuy.com. Plus, it's back in stock now on Xreal.com. A few months ago, my life changed forever when I brought a pair of Xreal One Pro AR glasses on a incredibly long flight to New York City. I legit could not believe how easy it was to use and how high quality my experience was playing games with my Steam Deck and watching movies with my phone on the plane on a theater-sized OLED screen right in front of my eyes without too much extra stuff or a giant goofy headset involved. No joke, this is my favorite new piece of tech in years, and it has earned a permanent spot in my travel bag. It's only hard to believe it works as well as I'm saying until you try Xreal AR glasses for yourself, and then you will see that the tech is here. Connect Xreal One Pro glasses to whatever you're playing, like a handheld console, PC, phone, or home console, and get a massive 150-inch virtual screen anywhere, anytime for any game. Gaming on the go, like a long flight, you need Xreal One. Neck starting to hurt from staring down at your handheld? You need Xreal One. It's plug and play with all your devices via USB-C, built-in audio with sound by Bose, anchoring your screen literally anywhere in space, 1080p Full HD, and you can make it bigger, smaller, farther, closer, ultra-wide, or regular widescreen, horizontal, vertical, even 3D if you have a 3D movie. It's all built in and can be controlled by pressing a few buttons on the glasses. These are what make Xreal One Pro a must-have. Xreal One Pro is now available on Amazon and BestBuy.com, and from August 25th through September 1st, you can get $50 off if you bundled Xreal One Pro with the Xreal Beam Pro AR mobile device on Amazon or Xreal.com. There is nothing better than when a sponsor of Kinda Funny is something we are legitimately obsessed with. So get yours today at kindafunny.com/Xreal. That's kindafunny.com/Xreal.
Ghosts of Yotei. It's finally upon us. We are hurtling towards this October 2nd release date. I can't wait, of course. Huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima. Erika, talk to me about your history with Ghost, because you're talking about Last of Us lighting this fire. I assume Ghost of Tsushima has to be somewhere in there as well.
Yes. So I am a huge Kurosawa fan. My parents were huge Kurosawa fans. My mom paid $100, I think in the 80s, to go to a screening of, I think, Kagemusha and shake his hand.
Oh, wow.
So like this game, Tsushima, was huge, because I played so many hours and I did so much of Witcher 3, and I was like, if I could have a samurai game that's like Witcher 3 and I roll around hitting things with my sword, that would be great. And I got it. And 2020 was a rough time for all of us. But I played the game. I loved it. I sort of, like, during different moves, I had I ended up moving and like not picking up my PlayStation for a couple years, and then I finally picked it up, and I would just love running through the fields, and the story was incredible. And I mean, if you haven't played it, no spoilers, but there was a really devastating moment in that game that really haunted me, that I got to confront to the developers about. And that's the beauty of being a fan of a thing before you get to be part of it, is you can actually take it up with the creators. But
we've all known Nate Fox is a dirtbag for a long time, and I'm glad you got to call him out on it.
Listen, I'm not a coward. I never go on the internet and say something mean to somebody.
Never.
Because I will say it to their face instead. And so I did chastise him roundly for what he did in that first game. But I was a huge fan, and I could have never dreamed that it would end up this way.
So how does it end up this way? Is it an open casting call? Is it a conversation somewhere?
It was an open casting call.
Okay.
I auditioned with a lot of other people, I assume.
Did the sides tell you it was Ghost, or?
No.
Okay. Right.
No. For most video games, when you get the sides, they are all code named. It's like sometimes you don't even know the company. Like you don't they're very, very vague. But another bonus of being a fan of something is that you can figure it out. If you think
Wait, they
about
keep saying I gotta chop through these bamboo reeds to up my levels.
what do you mean foxes? And like, what do you mean? Yeah, it was, I think they were sides that never ended, they're frequently sides that never end up being scenes in the game, but like they were good sides. The writing was great. And it was set in that period, and it was a video game that was a franchise, and so I figured it out from there. And I think, I think, I mean, knowing the more that you know as an actor, the better it helps inform your performance. And so I was lucky that I knew, and then I was lucky that but it also at the same time did give me a little bit of the yips because, I mean, auditioning to be in something that you love is a lot of pressure, and there's the temptation to be precious with it, I think. But
how did you get over that?
I just sort of did. I mean, it was nice too because this character, I didn't know this character. There was nothing for me to go off of other than I love what they've written. This little glimpse into her and into her life is just really resonated with me. And the way she was described was like a character, like no other character definitely no main character that I've ever read before.
Sure.
And, I just really kind of fell in love with it. And when you're excited and really love and passionate about a character, it really kind of comes through, I think. And at the callback, I straight up asked them, and they had a hurried whispered discussion, I think, about whether or not to tell me what it was. But yeah, I think just it felt like there's very few roles that I auditioned for, and I'm like, I need this. And I feel like I could do this. Because I'm an actor. I've got imposter syndrome. I'm cowardly and superstitious, and yet this one just felt so right, and I'm so grateful that they felt the same way too.
How long do they leave you on the hook for? You audition, then there's a callback, and then when do you find out? Like, what's going on with that?
Oh, it's a couple of months.
Yeesh.
Usually because there was audition, and then you wait, and then there's a callback, and then you wait. And then you get the role, and there's like contracts that need to be signed and negotiations that have to happen. And you don't even once the contract is signed, you don't know if they might recast you. They might decide like, well, maybe it's not the right fit, or there's some sort of higher up executive decision that needs to be made, and you're not a part of it. And so, you kind of remain clenched for a little bit. Like it was definitely,
until you're in the ping pong ball suit, until something's going on.
Yeah, I truly was, convinced that they'd like drag me off the Sony lot, like even months into actually shooting it. But yeah, it was such an incredible. That team is singular. And I don't know if I ever gave a talk at GDC, I feel like one thing I would want to talk about on my big list of things that I would want to say in front of a bunch of developers. One of them is just how vital their communication to me was during the whole process. Like a lot of times, as you know, since you have done some video game voiceover roles, sometimes you just walk in and they give you a spreadsheet of lines, and that's all you get, like as you walk in, and you just sort of read it cold. But they gave me scripts. They had writers like be able to discuss the story with me. I had a dialect coach. I felt so supported in this in a way that I think a lot of studios haven't been able to for actors, just because this is still a new young medium, and also that kind of thing is expensive and requires a different pipeline, and so but I remember in seeing behind the scenes for The Last of Us and other like very actor forward games about how they were sort of a part of the process and much in the way that an actor would be in an on-camera role. And this was sort of like that. Like it was incredible to see the team and to see how they worked and how all the pieces seemed to really fit together, and there was a distinct pipeline in this dev cycle, which, as you know, is not always the case.
Yeah. Some things get in the way, but not at Sucker Punch. Not with a PlayStation title, please. Not with this team. They're incredible over there, except for Nate and Jason. Don't worry about that. Billy Harper,
you know what you did.
Billy Harper from Sucker Punch texts me because I was bugging him for questions about you, and he says, tell her I said hi, and she's the best. Super stoked she's getting the spotlight today. So there you go. Sucker Punch, happy to see you out here repping the game.
Billy was incredible, and again, that team, holy cow, I've never gotten to feel that in a game before because, a lot of times for voice acting, you're in, you're out. And then a couple years later, you see a game come out, and you're like, "Oh, I think
I have a voice in that."
Yeah, because sometimes for some jobs, you don't even know what the game is even after you've recorded it. So I feel very, very fortunate that they really kind of did their best to give everybody the tools for success.
When was this audition callback process in terms of years, and then how long did you work on it, and like? When was rap on it and stuff for this?
Oh my goodness!
And I know I'm asking you to lay out a timeline in emails.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I'm bad at timelines. Myself. I think of it in landmark times.
Sure.
Like, let's see. Like, audition process was before I had even launched I'm in a podcast with my dear friends, Abria Iyengar, Brennan Lee Mulligan, and Lou Wilson, and we were just
No, what's the podcast name? You got to promote it. What's the
podcast name? Is Worlds Beyond Number. We are a improvised storytelling podcast, and it can be found where all fine podcasts are listened to. It truly is. That's another story that I'm incredibly proud to be part of, but we hadn't even started the campaign. We hadn't announced the company yet. And I remember we were at sort of a getaway retreat. So that might have been 3 years ago. Okay. And I said, hey, I just got cast in something, and I think this is, I don't believe that this is real. And I kept saying that, I think, up until, around the podcast launch, and then a couple of months into podcast launch, I remember I was also filming it at the time, and I think pickups happened sometime this past year, but it's like everything, like the thing is and this is the crazy part again, because in a normal development cycle, it's like it all kind of happens, and then you are a piece of the machine that gets sort of slotted in a lot of times, like early on, and then, you don't know anything about it until later. But being part of this from like being the first actor hired, and then sort of one of the last actors out of the booth has just been, I've gotten to see so much progress of it. I've gotten to like talk with all of with so many of the developers, and Greg, it feels like magic. It feels like watching magic, and it is a jump scare seeing my face every time.
I mean, your face is all over the PlayStation Network right now, everywhere I look.
It still hits. It's still wild to me. I still don't believe it, because when you go to the studios to Santa Monica, you see the big murals of all of the there's all these big murals of all these iconic characters.
Yeah, here's Ratchet, and here's Clank, and here's Kratos, and then here's Erika.
I'm not ready for that. And then, I went and visited Sucker Punch, and there's a life-size Jean statue, which is incredibly photorealistic. The pores, the hairs on his face, like stunningly uncomfortably real, and it looks exactly. I've gotten to meet Daisuke, who is a phenomenal actor. I got to see him live on stage here in LA, but it looks exactly like him. And they're like, haha, we're going to do one of you. And I'm like, haha, what? What?
Here's a question I have when we're talking about Atsu and your performance in the story. And I know this is one you're going to have to do gymnastics on because I don't want you to spoil the story for me. But when we see the trailers during the PlayStation Directs, right, and they come out and they're like, here's the state of play, here's the thing. I don't want to say knock, but the thing I see is like, oh, well, the story looks pretty standard, a revenge tale, a samurai revenge tale. And you had just said when you were a while back now, but when you were talking about getting this role and what you read, you had never read a character story like this. Do you think is that on? What are we missing without spoiling it? I guess in terms of people who are like, oh, it's just a samurai revenge story, whatever. It's all the movies your mom went and saw.
Right. Well, first of all, she's not a samurai. And second of all, it was not as much the story because they really give you very little with the story, especially in the sides, because sometimes they don't even have it, and they definitely don't want it to leak. What I got was a character who was really complex and just really different than I've gotten to see a lot of main female characters, in games or movies or, there's, I think definitely the whole thing of like the hot assassin, I think it's like you're an assassin in a lot of films. It's like you're cool and you're pristine and like you have crisp suits,
Yeah.
I think this didn't feel like that. Without spoilers, it's just this sort of like really grounded feeling of a character. I mean, obviously it's based upon sort of like a heightened jidaigeki samurai films, which is there's these archetypes and these sort of tales, almost mythic tales. That's why, like, that was one thing I loved from the first game was the mythic tales were a lot of them very similar to traditional Japanese folklore and to these stories from Kurosawa and the legacy of samurai films. But there's something so visceral about them and about the characters and the way that they're portrayed and the way that you get to be in them when you're playing, and that was something that I was so fascinated by because yes, like stories, there's oldies but goodies for a reason, I mean, like I loved Lady Snowblood, but I also loved Kill Bill, and I think that I will never get tired of a really well-told classic story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you talk about that and, the pristine movie you'd see versus what we've even gotten a taste of here with the broken mask and mud on the outfits and just...
We've got we've got a Mike mode, which is like extra blood and guts and mud. I didn't even know about the modes. I'm freaking out about those because like both of those filmmakers are huge. I'm a huge fan of them, and just the fact that we can incorporate their visions into this, because that's the thing about good classic stories is that I want to hear every great artist's take on it.
Well said. So what does it feel like right now? I mean, we are basically a month from launch, October 2nd coming up really, really quickly. Like, is it an ever-present thing in your life where you're like, oh, this is happening? Are you so busy on other projects in your day-to-day that you're not even thinking about it? Like, where are we at with any of that?
It's so funny because, I'm very, very fortunate to have a lot of other things in my life. Like the skill tree went crazy over on the Dungeons and Dragons side, much to my shock. So there's projects going on and then other voiceover projects, but at the same time, the thing that I do right now, my cool down activity is Greg, I am obsessed with blueprints.
Oh my God, of course you are.
I have a journal of like it's for my friends at the Help Network. Thank you, Julia. Gave me like a notebook, and it's presumably for like putting your notes in as an actor, but it is filled with like fountain pen scribbles and tabs, and like it looks like a string board, like a conspiracy string board. But I'm playing it on my PlayStation, and every time I turn it on, my friend, while he was visiting, had turned it to my PlayStation background is me in Ghost of Yotei.
Sure, your friend turned it. Yeah, I'm sure.
my friend, while we were playing Split Fiction. Yeah, it was, and it's every time I turn it on, it is like, I kid you not, a jump scare and a reminder. And I was working on this very closely for about 3 years. And so I've never had a lead up like this before, because usually, again, like, you go in the booth, you do your thing, and you walk away from it for a while. And this has been ever present in my life, both, online now that it's been announced, and in terms of emailing, of getting to set up opportunities like this. And then also just, it really has informed so much of my other storytelling.
Oh, wow.
The feeling of just honesty and vulnerability in this character that I've never been given the tools before, I feel like, to really spread my wings and fly. And so, yeah, it's been there, whether it's, just up here in my head or on my dang PlayStation background. Again, crazy.
That your friend put up, of course.
That my friend put up.
What do you want gamers to know or be in the headspace of before, when they sit down and hit the options button to start this game?
Well, first of all, know about what your gamma adjustment should be like on your TV. Very important.
Very important.
This is a hotly contested topic, and I'm going to say, yes, it does matter. But second of all, I think this has been such a landmark year for incredible games, and it's an honor to be in like such. It is an honor to be in this game, in this time. And I really want people to know how much love was put into this. I got to see all of the developers during my whole journey with them for almost 3 years now, and how much they care about it, how much they care about telling a moving, powerful story, how much they care about making something fun. And how much I care about this story and about the ghost of stories. This has been the greatest honor of my life. I feel like Cinderella, I was just a little guy, and I got chosen to be part of this incredible narrative in this industry that I specifically wanted to be a part of. So I think I want people to know how much care went into this, and to know that, and for it to empower them to be able to tell the kind of stories that they want to see in the world.
Fuck yeah. Erika, you're awesome. You deserve it. I hope you know that. I hope that doesn't get lost on you.
Greg,
how much you deserve this, how good you are at this.
much.
A better interviewer would end the podcast there, but I still have super chats to get through, so we're gonna make sure we pay the bills around here. A lot of people,
we gotta.
A lot of people have written in, and I'll let you know if you are not a Worlds Beyond Number fan, there will be references that are lost on you, but they're here, and that's what we're doing. All right, let's get on their subreddit.
Beyond Number or Dropout.
Brian Murphy immediately starts, a hoo-hoo, crackle, crackle. Erika, you're one of the best voice actors out there and the best witch of the world's heart. Pitch your D&D video game and the character you would be in it.
Like, I wonder if it means, thank you so much, hoo crackle crackle. This is the call, the shout out, or the, what is it, call and response of our podcast talk back. It's so interesting. I think for a long time, I wanted there to be like a D&D movie where like Jumanji style, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you have the players and they are playing the game, and so you get back and forth. I had a whole pitch for like a D&D movie that I would want. I saw the actual D&D movie and it's great.
Yeah.
I saw it twice in theaters. I really enjoyed it. But I think that I would want a video game D&D game to be that, where like I guess sort of elements of early Assassin's Creed, but probably less on the normal side. I think on the mundane side, I want there to be okay. So, open interior, a parent's basement. We're all sitting there, and you get to create your character as these characters, and you understand what these characters mean to the players that are playing them. And I would want to play a character that is, I think, probably like my first D&D character, who's making like a cool grim dark assassin guy who's got knives and a tragic backstory, and then sort of like have that character develop and start to mean something to this player, and like they get to work things out through that, because like playing D&D and playing games is you work out so much of your stuff and play out so many scenarios that you wish you could play out in real life, but you have a reset button for.
Yeah. It reminds me so much of Life is Strange, True Colors. Remember, there's that whole section where you come in and you do the role-playing game but you already are the character you were, and it's fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You got something there. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Super Tyler super chats and says, congrats on wrapping The Wizard, The Witch, and The Wild One book 1. Can't wait to see you be kind, / in parentheses, and cunning in Yotei. How kind is Atsu? I'm not expecting a kind person here.
Not. I mean, I don't know. I probably, no spoilers.
Exactly.
Or anything, but Atsu is, I think in some ways, it was very funny because I think we just finished we call it book 1, the first sort of book of this one campaign run by Brendan Lee Mulligan. And this character that I play is, she's a witch, and she's very kind, and she has a fox familiar, which was, sort of like a happy, weird happenstance, because as we know, foxes make an appearance in Tsushima. But it draws from a lot of the same shared mythology. There's like a lot of sort of Shinto influence, Ghibli and Japanese folkloric storytelling influence. But these characters could not be more fundamentally different. So it's and both of these projects started around the same time, and then now have sort of concluded. My work on them has been concluded at the same time.
Look at that.
It's been a weird point for me as a storyteller, where it's like, wow, this incredibly fruitful and satisfying storytelling art in my life has come to a close right now. Like, what do I get to do next?
Yeah.
And
is it all excitement, or is it like a little bit bitter? Is it bittersweet to say goodbye?
It's very bittersweet, especially because, at least knowing that it's like an anthology, there's no guarantee that I'll ever see Atsu again, but also at the same time, the Japanese have a saying, mono no aware, which literally it means things end, but it is sort of the connotation that things are beautiful because they end.
Sure.
But that being said, I did have a good sort of champagne cry, when both projects were done. And I was just like, what if I never make anything that's spiritually satisfying again? What if everyone hates all my work forever?
Now you're just doing McDonald's commercials. Get to it.
Listen, I wish I could.
I was going to say no shade. I'm just, Brian, the lead guy from Secession, he does the commercials. I like him a lot. When you mentioned it earlier, I hit up the one, the only Sissy Jones, and I said, Erika's talking about you on a podcast. What questions do you have for her? Sissy responded, ooh, ask her when she knew she was a witch.
So interesting that, like, again, I chose to play a witch and we made a whole custom character, which you can find on the Worlds Beyond Number Patreon. But Sissy, I think, was one of the earliest people to sort of introduce that whole, that witchy coven of like talented, powerful, and righteously angry women into my life, and it's powerful, I gotta say. That energy, like, I am a very sort of I'm an atheist, agnostic, skeptical person, but also I cannot deny the power in a room when a group of incredible women gets witchy. Greg, have you ever
when they get witchy, there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Have you been proximal to that scenario, Greg? It is frightening in the best way for me, but yeah. I think honestly, having cool, amazing women around me and supporting me and leading me has, like, it's made all the difference in the world.
While we're here, talk to me a second about Worlds Beyond Number. When did you realize, oh, holy shit, this is going to be a big deal? Because, like, there's a lot of D&D campaigns and there's so many things, blah, 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 but, like, you guys crush it on Patreon. I'm on your page right now. You have nearly 72,000 members. Like, outrageous. Congratulations. When did you realize, oh, this is a big deal? Not a big deal. That's not the right, but you're doing better than you thought you were.
Yeah, actually, it's very funny because in the abstract, we knew that it would be some amount of successful because,
sure.
All of us have sort of, this is kind of like one of those music super groups where different people from like known people from different projects all come together and make something that they love. But I did not know. I think it was literally within 24 hours, we had something like 14,000 patrons.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody and they were like, that's a big deal. And I was like, yeah, that's a lot of people, right? And they were like, have you done the math on that? I was like, yeah, I've done the. Oh no, I didn't do the right math. I'm bad at math. So and suddenly, they literally had to napkin math it for me at which point I was like, oh my God, like it is life-changing. Like, honestly, to get to have, and I mean, like, you're on Patreon and suddenly it means that you have you can make the things that you want to make.
Patreon changed our lives. We wouldn't be here without them.
The sad and crass truth about making art in capitalism is that you need somebody to pay you for it. Yep. And if you don't have somebody paying for it, or like a reliable source of somebody paying for it, then you have to make a lot more compromises. And the fact that it was popular. It was commercially viable so fast.
Yeah.
Was number one, a surprise, and number two, not something I planned on, and number three, it changed my life, because I had been fortunate enough I think it had been a lot of, goodwill and sort of being known in this space had built up over the years, but this was the first time that I actually got to benefit from it and sort of seize the means of production, if you will. Yeah. Because most of the time you're going in and and don't get me wrong, a lot of the jobs that I have pay very well, but they're not steady, and
sure.
They are, and if there's like record profits or something, you don't tend to see any of that, except for at Dropout, which is insane. They do profit sharing, and that's crazy. But yeah, this was the first time where I was like, oh, there's a direct correlation between people wanting to hear the art that I do and me being able to support myself in just like a really reliable way. And that still actually hasn't kicked in. It's still kind of percolating there, but we've had to sort of realize that this was our passion project, but now also maybe it can be something that we, expand upon and dedicate more of our time to, because everybody involved is also like Brennan runs things at Dropout, and Lou is the on-camera announcer for Kimmel, and Abria has an empire, like is the DM, and so everybody has these other jobs, but that Worlds Beyond Number is the thing that we want to do together for the rest of our life. So we got business married about it.
I love that. Yeah. It's like you're the Justice League. You all have your own little adventures, but then you come together, do this thing.
Yeah. Oh God.
If Sucker Punch wouldn't have started making these goofy ass ghost games, maybe there could have been like an infamous Justice League, but Nate left me in the dust on that one, didn't he? CJ Splits on Super Chats and says, would Erika be offended if I did my first playthrough in Japanese? They have lip syncing now.
I wouldn't be offended. No.
No, that's it. She'll be offended. That's I'll be an offended face. That's an I'll be offended.
It's funny because I, the voice actress who's doing my dubbing, is such a, like, I'm a fan of her work, and she does such a phenomenal job. And yeah, they have like the lip sync is wild in a way that I don't think any game has ever been able to be before, and because it was important to them to have that full Kurosawa experience. It's still gonna be my face and my performance, which hers is based on. So I'm not gonna be insulted, and also I definitely want to do a playthrough with her. Because again, I grew up with Kurosawa, and also I've been learning Japanese, and you learn through immersion. And it's crazy because watching the trailer in Japanese was the first time I saw the dubbing, and it just looks like I'm speaking fluent Japanese, which is it's messed with my head so much.
You're like, when did I ever? Oh no, it's not me.
Yeah. And it's also fascinating too, because now that I understand so much more Japanese, seeing how they translated it and seeing how she interpreted certain choices, is I will definitely be playing it through in Japanese at some point. But it is that always that question of dub versus sub.
Yep.
Only I think this time people don't always realize that I am the sub and he's the dub. So yeah, I'm not at all offended, because it's a different situation and not a repudiation of my performance.
Fair enough. All right, everybody's free to do what they want.
You can play the game exactly the way that you
use
want
the filter you want. Do the thing. You put it in black and white. Let's have some fun. Let's go have some fun. But make sure your brightness is all set. Your HDR, all that.
Make sure that your gamma settings.
Yeah.
Dialed in.
One last compliment and then one last question. Mad Rocks super chats and says, "Ahoo, crackle, crackle." Amy and Kay have been two of my favorite characters in media. Cannot wait to play Ghost of Yotei with Erika as the main character, and then a bunch of party emojis. Have you gotten used to that yet? People coming to you and talking about how the performances have touched them, they're the favorite character in media, et cetera, et cetera?
It's not, I don't think I'll ever be able to take it for granted,
Yeah.
Because I got into this. I became a performer because I wanted to tell stories that affected people in the way that I was so deeply affected by these things that I was a fan of first. And having people say that I affected them is always going to be a surprise and truly an honor,
Love that. And then our final super chat comes from the one, the only Ty Wilkins VO. Ty Wilkins VO, of course, a kind of funny best friend who's been around for a long time and is breaking into the video game industry, VO industry as well. Currently Jake on Paw Patrol to the rescue. Ty says, just got out of a VO session early. I thought I was going to miss Erika live. As someone who was a quote unquote tiny Tato, Erika, you've always been an inspiration. Thank you for always being a light to look at when chasing the dream.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, back in when I had time to Twitch stream, my chat was the tiny potatoes because like me, they believed in you. You can do the thing. And God, we had some golden times. It's so wild to think about that. I remember, our Christine and Aram, who connected us. I looked back in my emails and I had an email from like 2014, I want to say, of me asking them to connect me with a developer or a voice actor or something, or permission to stream Uncharted, for my Twitch stream. And it's so wild to be on the other side of that now. And I mean, as somebody who was part of the Tiny Potatoes, they saw that journey. They saw me get my side shave live on Geek and Sundry. And when I said I wanna do voiceover for video games. And I feel like a lot of voice actors I see now like get into streaming after they
Sure.
are, become huge in voice acting. And I really wish I could go back to doing that, to just like, but the thought of playing me on a live stream is still, I don't know that I haven't done that yet. And that feels.
You got to do it though. Come here and do it with us. Come here and do it. You don't have to do it on your own channel. Come do us. Give us the revenue. Come here. Come on.
I mean, listen, I'm up in the Bay a little bit sometimes. My sister is the mayor of Berkeley.
I'm well aware because when you Instagrammed that a few years ago, I followed her and I see her do stuff in Berkeley every so often. I'm like, awesome. I'm glad she's holding it down.
But yeah, I'm up there. I might. That's such a weird thought, especially because like if it was Dragon Age, it'd be one thing, because like unless we made a character
that looked exactly like you, yeah.
Then like that's different. But playing Yotei, I just cannot imagine like every time we get to a cinematic, not being like, oh,
ha, it's me.
Ha! So, but we should play sometime.
Come up, Erika.
Oh my God! You can have a heart rate monitor on me. So you can see me go. Boop, boop, boop,
I don't know if we can do it without the treadmill, but we do have a heart rate monitor out there. I know for stream. So yeah, we could easily do that for you if you wanted. If that's what it takes, that and a coach ticket on United Airlines, we'll get you up here. We'll make it happen. Don't worry about it. A free trip to come see your sister in Berkeley.
Deal.
Erika, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us.
Thank you so much, Greg. This was an absolute treat. And again, like I looked up to you in this space and I used to see people wearing your shirts at all of the cons, that we had the time to go to
back in the day. Yeah.
And so, getting to talk to you like this is I never would have in my wildest dreams imagined.
Well, don't be a stranger. Come back more. Like I said, come up for this, come up for anything. Whenever you just want to shoot the shit, come up. We want to have you around. We love having you around.
Oh, thanks guys. And thanks for holding it down. Yeah, I love games and I love that other people who love games are able to make cool stuff in this industry still.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody remember Erika's cool stuff, Ghost of Yotei, is coming out on October 2nd, PlayStation 5, of course. Remember, Worlds Beyond Number continues to be a juggernaut success. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Go to Patreon. While you're there, subscribe to Kinda Funny. Patreon.com/KindaFunny, YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, Apple, Spotify, to keep our lights and mics on. Remember, we're an 11-person small business making the dream come true in San Francisco. Erika, beyond getting your video game, beyond Worlds Beyond Number, where should people keep up with you?
I am on Blue Sky and on Instagram at Erika Ishii. And also you can see me on Dropout. If you don't have a subscription to Dropout, you can definitely borrow a friend's password. That is encouraged. I hope to see you. Oh, also, I'll be in Chicago on the 8th doing a live Dungeons and Dragons, the 20-Sided Tavern show, which is like a choose your own adventure. Oh, that's awesome. It's so much fun. It's crazy. And yeah, I hope to be back to play and get jump scared with Greg.
I would love to have you up here. We'd love to do D&D with you when you're up here. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff we'll talk offline. We'll figure it out. We'll get a good crossover. Oh yeah, we did a D&D campaign in the last 3 years. They did one that was all Fast and Furious themed. And then like in 2015, we did one with Critical Role in the apartment. So we like D&D. We just don't do it enough. Let's figure that out. We'll figure that out. We'll get you up here for that. We'll get you up to place in that. Everybody, this has been another episode of the Kind of Funny Games Cast. Remember, each and every weekday, we run you through the biggest topics in video games, whether they be reviews, previews, or interviews, or just things we need to talk about. Like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. If you're a Twitch person, use Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime. You know all the different ways to support. We are taking a break in our live programming day because in just about less than 2 hours, we'll be back with the Kind of Funny Happy Hour for our patrons at the $25 and up level, where you can call in and be part of the live podcast with us. But for now, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.